it makes you appreciate saving. And that was the initial element that sort of made you watch what you were spending. Once we resigned, we had a fair bit saved up. We were spending it on the van, which wasn't too much of an issue. But as soon as you don't have cash flow or any income coming in, you then really second guess everything you purchase.
You become very tight with your money.
Welcome to More Than Money with your host, Ross Marais. This episode of More Than Money is brought to you by More Time Financial, a financial planning company who are on a mission to help young Australians make smarter decisions with money by providing real-life financial advice, coaching, and financial education.
G'day, my name's Dan. I'm 29 now. Keep saying 28, but I'm actually 29.
Getting close to 30.
Yeah, I know, it's bad. We're previously from Brisbane, and I was a construction estimator before I resigned to go on this trip.
My name's Annie, and I was a pharmacist at home.
In 28.
Oh, I'm 28 as well.
Perfect. Do you guys want to just give us a bit of a rundown of what you're currently doing and obviously where you guys are calling in from?
Yeah, sure. So we are currently doing a 12-month lap around Australia. We're calling in from Broome at the moment, which is at the top end of WA, which is an incredible state. The little town itself is weird, but anyway, it's a coastal town, so we're not complaining. We've been hanging around here for a couple of days now, and it's pretty good.
Awesome. So what was the main driver behind packing everything up and getting on the road for 12 months?
Annie?
We'd done a couple of shorter trips, like 2 and 3 years ago. We'd done 2 trips to South Australia and then one to the bottom of WA, and they were only about 4 or 5 weeks each, and it was just we saw a lot of things that were quite rushed though, so that kind of led us to wanting to do a whole 12-month trip and seeing everything that we can.
Yeah. And is that the game plan, to try and do, you going all the way around the outside?
That's it, yeah. So ever since we finished the 2 smaller trips, Annie's had in my head we need to do one full big lap to tick it all off the bucket list.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing now. So yeah, it's been good. We're trying to follow the coast really, but in the territory we did obviously duck down to Alice Springs and Uluru just to have a look around.
Yeah, awesome. So that probably answers my next question of whose idea it was to pack everything up and get in the van. Annie, was that you?
Yeah, I was pushing Dan for a while. He didn't want to leave his job.
Yeah. But we, just on the van side of things, we chose the van because it's pretty spacious and comfortable. We did brainstorm a lot of different vehicles you can do it in. There's plenty to go around in, whether you choose a bus or a van or a four-wheel drive with a rooftop tent, or if you sleep inside it. We did run through all scenarios, but we end up going with the van just because it's an all-weather house, I guess, on wheels, and it's very, despite the size, inconspicuous. We've made it so we can pull up anywhere.
Yeah, awesome.
And it's pretty handy.
It's very spacious. We've got a king bed in it.
Well, I was going to say, I'm sure that planning, most of it came down to Dan being the tallest human in the world. So
He still can't quite stand up.
No, close.
The
But
biggest van we could find.
yeah.
I think that's what you were saying when we saw each other last year. You were looking for something that you could potentially sleep sideways, but I think that was just a...
No
6'6", they don't really exist.
So how long have you guys been going so far?
About 4 months now. It's all gone very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very quickly. We try and say it's shorter than it actually is, but time just creeps away from us. Although we've got ample time, it always feels like it's going quicker than it probably should be.
And are you on a schedule at the moment, or is it take it as it comes?
Usually just take it as it comes. We want to get to Tassie before the Christmas school holidays. So that's our schedule at the moment, but we're pretty relaxed with the planning and just basically decide what we're going to do each day when we wake up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I guess we gave ourselves very rubbery timelines for each state. We want know that you want to spend 2.5 months in WA, maybe a month or two in South Australia, and it works like that. But nothing's ever set in stone. And if we want to stay longer somewhere, we do. Or if there's not much going on, we can move on. So I guess every 2 or 3 weeks we just reassess the situation about where we are and what we want to do.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that's the best way to do it, rather than rushing and not being able to see something just because you're on a timeline.
Yeah.
No plans, no timeline is good.
Yeah, definitely.
So how long had you been planning this trip for before you actually got on the road?
We maybe about 12 months. So that's when we decided that we wanted to do it 12 months before we left. We looked for vans for about 3 months until we found this one. And then that's when it was pretty definite. We bought the van, so we were definitely leaving.
Yeah.
But we didn't do too much of the trip planning, like where we were going, anything like that. It was more planning the van fit out like that.
Yeah.
It took a long time.
It was almost spur of the moment. We looked for a van for 2 or 3 months, not really in a rush. We found one in Sydney, which looked good for the right price. And we said, should we go down and pick it up?
Yeah.
And this is probably 2 or 3 days before the weekend. We got a quick mechanical check done on it and booked flights, and that was it. That was the deciding factor. We had a van, so we were going.
How good.
Yeah.
And what was the time frame to kit it all out? Because I obviously been following you on Instagram with the whole fit out.
Yeah. So the fit outs from when we bought it in, was it July? About July, we wanted to time the trip to do it anti-clockwise from Brisbane. So to go up and do Northern Queensland Territory in the top of WA in their dry season. So we can actually sleep and we can actually get through everywhere in a 2-wheel drive van.
Yep.
So we wanted to leave in start of April. So we had probably too much time to do the fit out. And in the end, like we were just doing bits and pieces on weekends for the first we had the van sitting there for 9 months. And then after 3 months, we started doing bits and pieces on it. And then it all caught up to us pretty quickly towards the end. And the last probably 2 or 3 weeks is when we had to start working on it just about full time after we resigned. Yeah.
That's when we wanted to leave straight away when we resigned, but we were stuck working on the van still for a few months.
Yeah. But anyway.
It was a lot of planning. Like when we were trying to start, it was like we had no idea what we were doing. We had an empty van, and it was just a lot of planning what to do first. Like what we do with the floors, the ceiling, the walls, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what did you do for that? Was it just YouTube clips on how and what to do, or were you getting some help? Or
mainly YouTube, and lots of, like on Instagram, we looked at lots of van builds on Instagram, and lots of people put them up on their pages, like what the steps and everything like that. So we're looking at a lot of that. Yeah.
And I guess there's a bit of trial and error. We'd get into the van once it was all cleaned out and mark out where we wanted everything, the seats, the bed, the kitchen, and just put masking tape down, see what worked, where we wanted the bed to run and how we wanted the drawers and cupboards to open and everything. There is a fair bit of planning, and you do have to get it pretty well sorted out before you start anything, which is the hardest part. So if you change one thing from the beginning, it pushed everything else sideways a bit.
So a few late nights and a few arguments on the layout.
No arguments. I just agree with Annie. Makes it easy.
So you in charge of the build, Dan?
Yeah, pretty well. Annie was a good apprentice. She's still progressing, but I've had no real building experience. I'm a construction estimator. Yeah. I went through and priced it all up pretty well. But then when it came to actually doing getting on the tools, my old man and granddad were pretty handy when it came to that. And his old man's a Sparky, so he helped out with all the technical side of things with the electrics, which was good.
Yeah, and I think that was probably the most interesting part for me watching you guys build it was, like, obviously it looks so nice now that it's done, but knowing what was like underneath the floors, what's on the walls, like all the electricals, all the everything else that's gone into it, like it's just crazy.
Yeah. Definitely. And once we had the plan in our head, we thought it was going to be pretty straightforward. You go to Bunnings, buy your materials, come back and do it. But I reckon we probably spent a third of the time planning what we're doing on the run, a third of the time at Bunnings buying materials. There was multiple trips every weekend.
Yeah, we're Bunnings like 3 or 4 times every weekend.
It was
Yeah.
crazy.
So bad.
We know the layout pretty well. I reckon if we needed a job, we could go to Bali and get one. And the other third was actually building it.
Yeah. Awesome. And the decision to do Australia rather than head overseas, because I might have been talking to you about this when we caught up with each other last year, Dan, that I had two other mates doing the same thing. One was I think in the UK, and another one was in Spain, and they were doing obviously the van life over there. So was that a consideration to do it overseas, or was Australia kind of top of the list?
I think Australia is probably the top of the list. After doing the two smaller trips, there's so much more to see. Even doing 12 months in Australia is far too rushed. We've had to skip over things, and not having a forward drive was almost limited to the places we can get to up the top end. But there's a reason there's so many backpackers here, because there is so much to see.
Yeah, it's so beautiful here. We didn't even really consider going to Europe or anything.
No. And
maybe the next trip.
Yeah. I guess the way that we're running the trip and planning it is, once we're in the current state, so WA, we'll start looking for places further forward, including the next state. So WA, start looking at South Australia. Once you're in South Australia, start looking at Victoria and moving forward like that. So we're only ever looking maybe 4 or 5 weeks ahead of ourselves. So it's pretty cool, because we'll run into places from word of mouth, meeting other people doing similar things. They say, go here, go and check this out. Don't miss that one. And we're finding some surprise little gems, which are, sensational.
I think it's such an interesting thing, because like most people our age, it's the first thing we do is we pack up and go overseas. And like I know for me, I've traveled probably more around overseas than I have of Australia. And you meet someone overseas and like, have you been to Perth? And I was like, no, I haven't been to Perth. Oh, you've been to Northern Territory? No, I haven't been to Northern Territory. And you always feel a bit bad that you haven't seen these things in your own backyard yet.
Definitely. Yeah, that's what we thought, because some of my mates were saying the same thing. Why aren't you going overseas? It's like, have you been to the Territory? Have you been to WA? Top end of WA is amazing. And that's where we only touched on it.
On the bottom.
We touched on the bottom last time we came here 2 or 3 years ago. And
around Esperance and things like that.
Esperance to Perth, we spend most of the time, and it was amazing. So we're heading back down that way now.
To get back there.
Yeah, can't wait.
I had some friends, they did Greece, and then they went to Esperance next. And I just thought they were still in Greece from the photos they were putting up, because I'd never heard of Esperance. And just looking at the photos, I was like, it's obviously overseas. There's no chance that could be in Australia. I messaged him. He's like, we're in WA. It's down in Esperance. It's just the colour of the water.
Yeah.
The WA coastline is amazing. Like, the water's so blue, and there's no one here. You go to beaches and you're the only people there. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Very spaced out though.
And the sunsets too, which we don't get from the East Coast. We never come across it. And then Darwin and WA, the sunsets are amazing. Yeah.
Have you guys done much travelling overseas prior to this?
I haven't done too much. Like, I've only been to New Zealand, Vietnam, and Hawaii. They're the only trips I've done. Dan's done a bit more.
I did a bit more as family holidays growing up. Through school, mostly to Canada, a bit for the States, a little bit of Europe and the UK, I guess. But and as a family, we only did local trips, but never did too much of Australia. Whereas Annie's parents was a bit more diverse. They've always been into caravans and actually doing camping and longer trips. But nothing like this.
Then we spent all our other holidays the past couple of years doing our trips around Australia as well, the smaller trips.
Yeah.
Whereas even then, everyone's going overseas.
Yeah.
But so much to see here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it makes me a bit jealous. Want to get out there and see it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys said you both resigned from your jobs. Was that always the game plan? It was like, you had a set kind of date in mind to say we're going to resign by this date. And how did you approach that process?
You can go first.
Well, we had the date that we were wanting to leave is when our house lease was ending. Like, we'd signed a lease for our house for 6 months, so we knew the end date that we were going to be leaving Brisbane. I told my work it was quite a few months before we were planning on leaving, because I just thought that was the right thing to do. At my job, we were on contract, so they interview every year. So I went and told them, I said, I don't think I should apply because I'm actually planning on leaving in end of March. And they were okay with that, and they just said, you can stay until then and then resign then.
Yeah, they were all for it. They didn't have any issues at all.
Yeah, my work was like, that's a great idea. Dan's was a bit different.
Yeah, mine being a private company, there was a bit of backlash to doing it. I pushed for a sabbatical, so I do my 12 months and then come back and slot back in where I left off. But because there's probably 7 or 8 younger people who've gone through uni at the company, like what I did as well, it opens up the floodgates to allowing them to do the same thing.
Sure.
So in the end, I opted to resign, much to my boss's discretion. I want to keep you there, and I don't know. You get the whole talk about it's going to set back your career and everything, which I don't think it will, getting this far into the trip. But yeah, so I think the easiest way was to resign and hopefully step back in when I return back.
And was there any hesitation around that? Around, I'm sure your boss wouldn't have been the only one having that conversation to you about career progression and obviously how it might look on your resume and things like that. Did you guys have any reservations around that?
Me personally, no, not really. Most people who weren't directly involved with my employment were all for it. Even my old man and my mother weren't too opposed with it. And after speaking with them, I don't know, you mightn't often speak about it prior to doing something like this yourself, but their scenarios were very similar, whereas they were planning on doing a big trip at a similar age for a year, and then something changed and they actually ended up starting their own business and doing something else. Yeah, it's funny. A lot of the 40 to 50-year-olds wish they did something like this. Yeah. And I guess we're fortunate enough to still be at this age where we don't have kids, we don't have a mortgage, and we actually can quite easily facilitate a trip like this.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Decide to do it and just leave.
Yeah.
Well, we still could.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think, like, for a lot of people that I speak to, they want to do it, but then there's always those hesitations of, okay, how's it going to look? Am I going to be able to get my job back? And I guess a lot of people get comfortable that they just don't want to change that or don't want to risk it. So it's awesome to see people actually doing it and taking the chance to see an awesome country.
Yeah. I guess if you do it fresh out of school or fresh out of uni, you mightn't have the funds to be able to fit out a van at a decent level and be able to do a 12-month trip. You can definitely do this trip a lot cheaper than we're doing it. We did spend a bit on the van fit out, and we are doing the trip, so we enjoy it. We're not eating 2-minute noodles, and we're not purposefully not doing any activities where if we want to do it, we'll do it. I think.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. I think a few people have done it. They've come back and started looking for jobs, and they've been surprised by the actual reaction they've got from employers. They're intrigued. They're like, appreciate they're a little bit more rounded or a little bit more worldly, that they've actually gone out and taken that year off rather than just sat in a cubicle for 5 years out of uni.
Definitely.
Life experiences.
Yeah, for sure. And even getting to the monetary side of things, while you are traveling, you're not paying rent. So we were paying just over $500 a week to rent a small house in Brisbane. Yeah. While you're on the road, you're not paying that. Sure, you're not making money, but you're not spending that in rent. Food, you're still getting food in Brisbane while you're on the road. You have to get food. Fuel is a bit of an additional cost, but it's not really that bad. And then even if you do dwindle away all of your funds and savings while you are on the road, we've got, I don't know, maybe a 50 grand van here. So when we do get back, we need to sell it, we need some cash. You're straight back up to a reasonable bit of money.
Yeah, and we spend, like, when we're in Brisbane, we go out for dinner all the time, go out for drinks with friends every weekend, and like just spending so much money. And now we're not doing that. Yeah, like, we pretty much, our money is like our food, fuel, and seeing things, really.
So if we want to break down that little bit further in regards to the finance side. So did you guys have a set budget or a set savings amount that you wanted to get to before you left?
Great question. So short answer, no. And the long answer, when we got engaged, we hadn't really saved too much money at all. We were earning okay amounts. So when we got engaged, we get married in 9 months' time or 10 months' time. I said, all right, we need a bit of cash to pay for this wedding. So we each started putting away, I think it was $400 a week. So $800 combined. The first couple of fortnights after payday, yeah, it is quite a hit coming out of your funds.
Sure.
But it then became very easy to continue. It, like you weren't really noticing it. And then after the wedding, we just continued saving for no particular item, whether it be a house or to travel or do whatever. We just kept putting away $400 each a week. And then by the time we realised we wanted to do this, we already had a fair bit saved up. Yeah, and it just made it quite easy. So it makes you appreciate saving, and that was the initial element that sort of made you watch what you were spending.
Yeah.
Whilst you're saving, because you haven't got quite as much to blow and piss up the wall. But the next item that really kicked it into gear was once we resigned, we had a fair bit saved up. We were spending it on the van, which wasn't too much of an issue. But as soon as you don't have cash flow or any income coming in, you then really second guess everything you purchase.
You become very flat with your money.
Very. And I think that will continue on once we get back from our trip doing the 12 months. If you're going out, do you really need that coffee?
Yeah.
Which, if you're getting a coffee a day, it's $1,000 a year, which is a fair bit of your income.
A lot of money.
Yeah, let alone going out drinking, which is good fun. But
you don't want to run that annual bill. Don't want to run that annual total.
No.
And I think that's the interesting part that I see from obviously my side and what I do on a daily basis is that unless people have something to save for, I know you said you didn't really have something to save for, like in particular, but you just decided to save that money. I guess that wedding kicked you into gear there. But unless you have something to save for, it's so easy. And obviously companies and everyone makes it so easy for you to spend your money because it's just, okay, well, what's an extra $200? What's an extra $300? You just don't worry about it because you know you're going to earn that again the next week if you've got an income coming in.
Definitely. Yeah. And I've also, this is digressing a bit, but I've also found that if you pay for stuff in actual physical cash, you're seeing it go out a bit more than paying on plastic.
Yeah.
So I don't do it myself. Everything's still on plastic with PayWave, which is probably even worse. But if you hard cash, you're forking out $100 to go out for drinks. You quickly see it. Yeah.
I think for a lot of times it's just actually breaking that. If it's a $50 or $100 note, which obviously people don't really carry around too much anymore, but if it's actually breaking that, it's like a lot of people just don't want to physically break that note up. So
Definitely.
it has that psychological effect on you, definitely.
Yeah.
So what was the total fit out of the van, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so the total fit out, well, me coming from a construction estimating background, I, of course, went through and spreadsheeted all of the costs.
Spreadsheets for everything.
Yeah, spreadsheets element. And we had an initial budget after we calculated it all was about 17 or 18 grand. I have got all the figures written down. But so we put in 17 or 18 grand and the final figure, I think, was about 21.
Okay.
So probably 3 grand over, but along the way we were making some additional optional changes as well, which definitely weren't required, but we ended up putting in. So it was pretty well kept on track with where we wanted things to be.
Yeah. We've done it, like you could definitely do a van fit out cheaper, but we wanted it to be really nice. Like it was going to be our home for a year. So we've got things that you don't necessarily need in your van. But we wanted it to look nice, wanted it to be comfy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
you could probably do something similar for 5, 6, 7 grand.
Okay.
And I don't think you could do it for too much more than what we've done.
Yeah.
It's luxury.
If you were paying somebody else to do it, you'd probably add on another 10 grand onto that.
Okay.
A lot of labour involved. But funnily enough, the size of the van didn't really make too much of a difference to the cost, because you've still got your individual items. Like one battery is one battery. It doesn't matter if you've got a bus or a small car. If you want that power, that is a cost. A kitchen is relatively going to be the same price. A sink is the same. A tap is the same.
Except where you got like a black sink and a rose gold tap.
Yeah.
It looks nice. It looks nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted it to be nice.
Yeah. No, it's good.
So the 21 was the fit out, and then the cost of the van.
Cost of the van, we got it for a pretty good price. They were asking 29 or something, and we lowballed them to, I don't know, might have offered 23, and they came back, said 25, and I think we ended up getting it for about 24 and a half.
Yeah.
24 and a half. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then what did you have what was the kind of the budget for the year that you had? Obviously, I assume you're not working at all while you guys are away. So did you have a figure in mind?
Again, I did go through and spreadsheet it. Everyone's poo-pooed it. We went back and worked out our costs for food, which we knew we weren't really going to be changing along the way, which was $30 per person per day. So $60 a day, which sounds far-fetched, but if you go out and have a meal or you go and have breakfast every now and then, it works out pretty close to that. So on groceries, we're spending, it works out to be like $29.80 a day, which is funny.
Yeah, between us. So
That's
half of what we budgeted.
That's between us. And then if you add on going out and eating out sort of thing, it's close. So we've been a bit tighter on that. We're a bit reserved. But so it's not too bad. It's probably $40 a day if you add in eating out and everything. But the overall
$40 each?
Nah, $40 total.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have much.
Yes. Yeah,
We
very
really
seldom.
Yeah.
But the overall budget was around 70 grand that we put forward.
Yeah.
And what did that
It
include?
was a pretty generous budget. Like,
Definitely. That was food, coffee, maintenance on the car, which we put forward about 3 grand. Activities, which some things in WA are very expensive.
Yeah.
And if you want to go to Ireland sort of thing, you could easily spend this, if not more. That was $200 a week between us. And if you do one thing a week, you're going to spend more than that.
just had a miscellaneous if we needed to buy new stuff.
Yeah.
New
Tools
or
joggers,
anything.
dentist.
And that is $200 a week as well.
Another 200. So
Had a generous alcohol budget as well.
I think what do we have? $30 a day for alcohol. So there was 10 grand worth of alcohol.
Yeah.
We do like alcohol. So we're definitely smashing that. We have decided to be a lot more frugal after that. Yeah, so the high end was about 70 grand, and I reckon it'll come out to between 40 and 50 probably. And that's not really cutting out too much. Other people say they can do it for a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Um,
very skeptical because I don't think they add in any of the additional costs.
Yeah, other people that we've spoken to that say they spend a lot less than us, they only count their groceries and their fuel, like they don't count anything else that they're buying. But we kind of put into our budget.
Yeah, we have everything that comes out of this one account is tracked, whether it be for dentists, which we saw the other week.
Yeah.
Running shoes, new clothes, new camping equipment, it all comes out and it's all added in. Breakdowns, rego and insurance, it's all in there.
We didn't think about them before we left. We just had to pay both our
Yeah.
It's a sad day.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to tell until you get a few more months up your sleeve and you can average it out.
Yeah.
But then we just had a week where we were camping just 50 k's north of Broome on the beach, and we spent nothing. Like we were just in a free camp for the whole week.
Yeah.
And
I think it was $20 for the week.
Yeah.
6 days was $0, and on the 7th day when we came back into town, we spent $20 or $30.
But we did do our grocery shopping the week before.
Yeah.
About 10 days worth of food.
Yeah.
So how would what you're spending on those average things, maybe eating out and groceries being the two main things, be different to if you're still in Brisbane on just obviously doing normal things?
Groceries, no difference.
Yeah.
Very, very minimal.
Yeah.
Eating out, significantly less. Coffees, also, we've just about cut it out. Get yourself a good coffee machine. We've got
a stovetop Belletti maker.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Sensational.
What was that one? Sorry?
A stovetop, a Belletti.
Oh,
You can
okay.
grab it. Yeah.
Pride,
Unbelievable.
pride and joy.
Just had our coffees. Yeah, these little bad boys.
So good.
Amazing.
Because we'd budgeted to buy a coffee every day, and I think we bought 3 coffees since we left.
Yeah.
And then, like, obviously, as you said, you're paying rent. You would have been fuel, regos. Like, has anything drastically changed? Obviously, besides rent, you're not paying that. But anything else drastic?
We did have 3 cars at home. Dan had a car, I had a car, and then we had this as well. So we were paying rego and insurance on 3 vehicles, which we both sold our other cars. So that's a big saving.
Yeah. It's probably, registration and insurance on multiple vehicles with a motorbike thrown in there as well. And I guess eating out, we'd go out for breakfast most weekends. You'd go out and buy whatever you wanted, buying coffees every day. And I think most weekends you'd be going out at least once on a weekend, if not twice, where you're quite easily blowing over $100 each night per person. When you add in to and from with transport to get out there and 6 or 7 drinks, there goes $100 quite easily.
Yeah.
We don't.
But other than that,
Don't do that anymore.
Yeah, there's not too much else that's different.
I haven't been going shopping.
Shopping decreased. You're not
haven't seen
paying
any shops.
power bills. You're not paying power bills. If you do your electrics in a van, we haven't had a powered site in probably, I don't know, 6 weeks, and that was out of convenience. We could have probably gone 2 or 3 months now without any power.
What do you got, the solar on the roof?
Yeah, we got solar and quite a substantial battery. So when you get...
It will last 3 days if it's overcast. And
Yeah, and we've been running other people's fridges on it, charging all of our 240 and everything, and we're still on 80% now in the morning, so it gets to 100% every day with nice skies.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, doesn't rain up here
in
the dry season.
It's good. Yeah.
So you said you were saving $400 a week before the wedding, and then obviously just continued. What was the major thing that you had to cut back on, or the biggest sacrifice you had to give up to be able to afford to save the $400 a week?
Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all.
We were just blowing it all before. It made no difference. We didn't give anything up.
Nothing.
We were just wasting it before.
I guess what we did notice is our 2 personal bank accounts definitely weren't going up as much, but
we were putting into a joint one.
But our dedicated joint account was absolutely rocketing up. And I guess this sort of also continues on. So I bought a new car 4.5 years ago, which I ended up paying off $5,000 to pay it off completely just before the trip. And something like that, where you're putting away $300 a fortnight paying off a new car, seems like a bit when you start. After a couple of months, you don't really notice it coming out. And then when you go to sell it, say I bought it for $50,000 and you sell it for 40, you just pocket $40,000 in cash, which you don't really notice coming out. It's 4 savings. So I didn't see it as being a terrible thing. I'm not telling people to go out there and do it, but I found it quite beneficial if you find a nice car which isn't going to depreciate too much over time.
You probably would spend that.
Yeah.
If it was in your bank account.
Yeah. Going out 3 times a week. I don't know.
And how about you, Annie? Anything major on the saving side or spending side?
Not really.
Yeah, no, it was surprisingly not.
Yeah. Hardly noticed the savings. Like it was just taken out automatically each paycheck, so it didn't really make too much difference. And then there's just less money in your actual accounts, and then you see how much you've got to spend that week. Kind of.
I guess it's also probably diluted a bit with wages increases. So we were both pretty well relatively recently out of university when we started saving for a wedding. Through salary growth and increases. It probably did inadvertently make it a bit easier, but in saying that, could have maintained it from where we were to begin with.
Hindsight's a great thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess, like, obviously just looking at those figures of what you've saved up before you went, what you spent on the van, the fit out, everything like that. Did you have anyone give you the why aren't you buying a house talk? Like, why are you spending all this money on a trip and not buying a house?
Not really.
No.
We looked at a couple of houses in Brisbane like before we bought the van, but to live where we want to live was just so expensive. And I think it would have been stupid to get into a mortgage that big when we were so young.
Which we were very close to doing.
We nearly bought a house. Our first option.
We were
the first house we looked at, we're like, this is nice, let's buy this.
That far from owning
that would have been a bad idea.
An expensive house.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's
glad that didn't happen.
Kind of funny, the whole flip of our mentality about buying a house and getting a house and going, bugger that, let's get a van instead.
Yeah. Because it obviously it's a challenging thing of what you've done, because obviously not everyone, but obviously the set thing is we finish uni, we get a good job, we get married, buy a house and have kids, and there's no question of why would I do anything else? Like, why would I spend 12 months traveling in a van to try and convey that? It goes against the conventional timeline of what we're meant to be doing.
That's it. Completely agree. And I guess you don't really see too much of the other side until you get out here and actually do something like this. The amount of people that we've run into on the road, similar age, if not younger, who have already been traveling for 2 years is astonishing. In saying that though, a lot of them do go and work for 6 months of the year or 3 months of the year, and as soon as they get enough funds again, whether they get 20 or 30 grand and take off, there's heaps of people doing it.
There's so many young people.
Yeah, I'm almost not all for it, because I don't know what they're looking at for the long-term future.
Sure.
Whereas us doing a 12-month stint, I don't think it's going to be a big negative in our long-term careers.
Yeah.
With a year or two, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. A bit of a break, put it on pause, and then try and jump straight back into where you left off.
Yeah. And has it, talking to those other people and obviously experiencing what you have over the last 4 months, has it changed your thinking a bit on the whole work-life balance and travel and things like that?
Not really. I don't know. It's almost a convoluted and very detailed question. So it's all personal preference.
Yeah.
For us, it depends how you think. If you're thinking very short term, yes, definitely. If you're thinking long term, probably no, not quite as much.
It's been a great experience to be able to do this, but then we do need to go back to work and replenish our funds. We always did have pretty good work-life balance. Like we'd always go away on the weekends and spend time together and go on little trips and stuff like that. So it was always pretty good.
Yeah. And my work, which was a private company, was very big on culture. So it wasn't all about your 8 to 5 work day. You did work probably 9 or 10 hours on average a day, but they had an annual camping trip, and every month or two you'd be going out doing social activities and a good Christmas party, which is always very well looked forward to. So I guess it stems back to our prior roles, which is going to be different for every person. But I don't think it's going to change my work-life balance too much.
Yeah. And I assume the answer is going to be no, but there's no chance of you guys working at all while you're away. It's completely 12 months, no work at all.
We could work. Like being a pharmacist, I could get locum work probably relatively easily in the less populated areas. But then we just thought if we were working along the way, we'd probably have to take a longer trip as well. Because if you're going to work, you have to be there at least a few weeks, and then we wouldn't be able to see everything we want to see in the 12 months.
Yeah.
But I think it was an option, but we didn't really want to have to stop and work along the way. So we just saved up as much as we could before we left so that we could just really travel.
Yeah.
But yeah, so many people that we meet, they have been traveling for like 2 years, but they work for 6 months, then travel, and they work somewhere else for 6 months and then travel. But yeah, so it just ends up being a lot longer that you do it for, which wouldn't be a bad thing, but yeah.
Sure. And what's been the best thing, biggest highlight so far about life on the road?
Depending on where you want to go with this question about which biggest highlight, as in actual location or destination, it's a hard question. Everyone asks it from other people on the road and vice versa. We ask them, and everyone ums and ahs because there's so much that's so good along the way. It's hard to pick.
Everything's amazing.
Yeah, it's really hard to pick one or two top destinations.
It's pretty cool, like Uluru, and that was pretty cool. Like, neither of us had ever been to the NT before, so that was pretty amazing to see.
Yeah. And where we've just been, just north of Broome, it's called James Price Point. I probably shouldn't be telling you guys this, but it's a free camp up on top of some cliffs, and we ended up spending 6 or 7 days there.
It was so good.
Which was by far the best free camp we've ever been to. And
you camped up on top of these like huge red cliffs, and then you just walk down white sand and then the bluest water. Is amazing. Yeah.
But looking away from a physical destination point of view, I think one of the best things is just having freedom to be able to do what you want with no set plan in place.
It's a pretty good feeling.
Yeah.
And meeting, like we've met so many people on the road, and everyone's like-minded people. You're all doing a similar thing, so you just connect with so many people, which is really good as well.
Yeah. If you can stay away from people with school holidays and children.
School holidays are the worst.
Shockers. So no, it's good. It's really good.
And top tips for anyone thinking about doing the same thing or something similar?
Don't hesitate.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
You won't regret it.
Yeah, no. Set yourself a bit of a target, I guess.
Yeah.
You can do it on the cheap, but
I guess decide what kind of trip you want to do, whether you want to do a working trip or whether you want to just have a set time and travel without working.
Yeah. Actually, top tip, if you want to do the top end, a 4-wheel drive, it doesn't matter what vehicle you do it in.
Yeah.
You can have a rooftop tent or be sleeping inside the back of a 4-wheel drive. It all makes it pretty easy. But as soon as you go below Perth back to Brisbane, that's where you'll start paying for campsites. They're not very big on free camps, which is why we've done our van in such a discreet manner. We've made it so
camp anywhere, really.
It's a suburban free camper. We can pull up, put the blinds up, which you can't see from the outside, and we can literally sleep in the middle of any major city or town, and no one would know. We're clean and tidy and pretty respectable. I guess people don't like free campers because they can be a bit messy, a bit loud, and put on a bit of a show. But if you're doing the top end, 4-wheel drives, doesn't really matter what you're sleeping in because there's so many free camps. And if you're going down the bottom, if you're doing something like that, just be prepared to pay. Otherwise, you'll definitely get stung, or it's quite easy to get stung by the council. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Now we obviously, you would have seen on Instagram, put a few questions out to see if anyone had any questions for you guys. Because I told them we're jumping on board to do this shortly. I've got a couple back. What's one thing that you couldn't travel without? Besides the coffee maker. It's a sponsored,
So good.
it's a sponsored podcast for Coffee Maker.
Oh, Wikicamps. Wikicamps is I don't know if you've heard of it, but an app on your phone, and it has it has all the free camps. It has points of interest, like where you can get the water to fill up your van, like where the toilets are, if there's any showers about, like that's all of that on the app. It costs about $15, but that's well worthwhile as well.
So is that Wiki, like WIKI?
Yeah, sensational.
Yeah,
Really
we
good.
use that every day.
It has comments on there, like other users go through and write reviews about the places. They can add photos, put prices up,
Yeah.
powered, unpowered. So it's, a very concise Googled version of everywhere you want to go and stay. And you can quickly
look at it on the map. It's really helpful.
Yeah.
So the Coffee Maker and the Wiki Camps, those big two things.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And a comfy bed.
Yeah,
A comfy
our
bed.
bed's almost too comfy. We've squeezed in a full king size
Koala mattress.
Yeah, full king size koala mattress, which makes it probably almost too easy to fall asleep. But
yeah, can't have a bad bed.
Yeah,
Doing it for a year.
Having done it previously,
We've had a foam mattress. It was awful.
It was a shocker. Good to start with. After about a week, you start getting soft spots and feeling the timber underneath you. So definitely helps if you're doing a big trip.
Did you have a king bed at home?
Yeah.
Hard to go back if you've got one already.
Yeah. She tries to sleep too close to me otherwise.
So the next one was, maybe this is more directed at you, Annie. How many days have you gone without having a shower?
A while. I reckon without a shower or a swim, we've probably gone maybe 4 or 5 days at the worst.
Yeah.
But often, like when we're around the coast, you have the cold showers after the beach and go swimming every day, so it's not too much of an issue.
Yeah.
We have a lot of baby wipe showers.
Yeah.
Because if you're in the centre and there's no showers around, baby wipes are, I don't know, we class them as a shower. So we haven't gone a day without showering.
Yeah. I haven't had a hot shower in a long time.
It's probably been close to 3 weeks since we've had a hot shower.
Okay.
Might sound bad when you have hot water readily available to yourself, Ross, but we don't really have that luxury.
Get used to the cold shower though.
It's fine.
Wash my hair under cold water.
Yeah.
Toughen up.
Yeah.
I can hear the girls cringing listening to that.
But when we are remote, we carry a fair bit of water. We've got 110 litres under the van and there's another 45 litres in the back. We've just got one of those black solar shower bags.
Okay.
And they get hot, and 20 litres goes a long way when you when you really need it. Yeah. We can do it, but it's not always required.
And was that a consideration? Obviously, a lot of other vans have showers and toilets and things in there. Was that just not even possible in the size of van you've got, or?
It definitely is.
Yeah, but we didn't consider even putting one in. I think because we'd travelled in the troop before and not had a shower and toilet for that. That was only for 4 or 5 weeks. We did those trips, but we didn't miss it then. So
we did consider it, but you'd be sacrificing something else in the van, whether it be one of the seats here or a shorter kitchen bench, because the bed is what it is.
Yeah, a bit more squishy.
Yeah, I don't think we really needed it. The way we've also done the van is there's nothing visible from the outside to give away that it's a camper. If it's registered as an actual RV, you have to have your gas. You have to your gas accessible from the outside, which to me gives it the camper straight away. So even if you have a plumbed-in gas cooktop, then it has to have gas to the outside loop. So we've gone a bit.
A portable gas cooktop.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a little bit backwards. One, which is handy because you can take it straight out anyway. But showers, we didn't think it was going to be the end of the world because we're on the coast for most of the time.
It was really only the NT that I thought it might have been a bit rough not having showers, but it was okay. And then up the top of the NT, there's all just freshwater swimming holes absolutely everywhere. So we didn't shower them, but we're pretty clean. Swimming every day.
Awesome.
Yeah, get used to it.
And the next one was have you had any nights out of the van yet staying in a hotel or staying at a proper house?
Two.
Two nights.
And that's when the van broke down. It
Okay.
wasn't by choice, but
Yeah.
it was an insurance claim, and RACQ was paying for it.
Yeah.
So
We asked if we could sleep, and it was at the workshop. We asked if we could sleep. We got a motel.
yeah,
But often, like when we visit friends, everyone tries to get us to sleep inside. They're like, "Oh, come in and sleep inside in a comfortable bed," and we're just like, "Nah,
Our
bed's
bed's,
so
our
good."
bed's better. Our bed's better.
Yeah. We sleep well in the bed. It's great.
yeah, it's good.
Awesome. So that we're obviously getting towards the end of the episode. So I've got some couple of questions that we try to ask all the guests that come on board, if possible. If you want to pass on any of the questions, you can. So don't be afraid to do that. We can't phone a friend, but you can pass.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like you're setting us up here.
what does money mean to you, or you each either combined or individually?
I don't know. A tool to buy things that you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Just being able to do things to have holidays and buy what you want. I don't know.
Annie read a funny
Oh yeah.
sentence on Instagram today. What was it?
It's money can't. They say money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you a drone.
Yeah, I think that was a cracker.
Yeah.
Looks like you guys have been having a bit of fun with the photography and the drones and everything while you've been traveling.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's been really good. I guess because you have more free time, you have more time to work, like play with the camera, work out how to use it properly, and
Yeah.
get good photos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just trying to build up that Instagram following so you can guys get paid to do the next trip.
That's it.
Yeah, when they
Yeah.
do the drone.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Unlikely. Anyway.
Is there anything that you guys know about money now or about finances that you'd wish you'd been taught earlier on in life?
Probably just savings.
We'd been told this early in life. My mum always
Just chose not to listen.
Yeah.
ignored.
Someone can tell you something, but until you get practical
Yeah.
and real experience of what it's all worth, it doesn't really sink in. So yeah, savings is the first one,
Yeah.
and then it goes hand in hand is spendings. So your expenditure, until you don't have an income, you don't really watch what you're spending, or we found we didn't.
And with our jobs, like when we first started out of uni, weren't earning very much. Like that still got you by, but then as you earn more and more, we just were spending more and more.
Yeah.
Until we started putting savings away.
Yeah.
Which we should have been doing since we got a job,
Yeah.
not just when we got engaged.
It's always the case. The more you earn, the more you spend. I'm hoping that this trip actually triggers a different mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. Wait until you get back to Brisbane.
Yeah.
Best advice you've ever received about money?
We didn't take it, but it would have been to say.
Looking back, it was good advice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I don't know. It's a funny one. Speaking with other people about what they do with their money, do you invest it or do you have it sitting in your bank account? I've never personally invested too much of my money, and Annie is not the same, but other people don't have any liquid cash sitting in their funds. They've all got it tied up with something else.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what the stats of the younger population is on what they're doing with their money, if they've got it sitting in a Westpac or ANZ bank account versus how much they've got tied up in shares or something of that nature. I guess a home loan is going to make that a different story, but yeah, I'd love to know the stats if you've got that worked out, Ross.
73%. No, I don't have it on top of my head. No, it is an interesting one. Like obviously that's what I do every single day. So talking to people about that exact thing of do we save, do we invest, do we buy a home, do we not?
Yeah. And
a lot of people are just paralyzed to make a decision because there's obviously so much misinformation or just not enough information out there. So it's yeah, it's a valid question because they probably know that they should be doing something. Like I'm pretty sure if you ask anyone, they know they probably should be saving more money than they are, but what you actually do, where you put that money is obviously a whole another question.
Yeah.
Next one for you. You wake up tomorrow, you've won the lotto, got $1 million in your bank. What do you guys do?
All right. Yeah. I've plotted this
we
one
talk
many
about this a
times.
lot. That's going to win the lotto.
You've got the spreadsheet out. You're good to go.
Yeah. In all honesty, it wouldn't be go overseas. It'd probably be
Do this for longer. Buy a big full-drive bus.
Flick this thing and
Yeah.
get an SLRV Commander. I've seen them driving around. I want one. But they're closer to $500,000, but they'll go anywhere and do anything you want.
Yeah, when we talk about we've only said that we'd keep doing this for longer, I think. Never said that we'd buy a house with our money.
Yeah.
Keep traveling.
Definitely.
So that thought, obviously it's a hypothetical question of winning $1 million, but that desire to travel for longer, is that what's drawing you to that? Like obviously you mentioned before that it's a 12-month stint and then you'll be back to work. Is that just a thought of, could we do this for longer, or we don't know if it's possible, or you don't really want to?
Again, this goes back to your long-term vision. What do you want to be doing in 10 years' time or 20 years' time? If you're happy having minimal funds under your name,
you could do this for
quite a long time. But if you want to get your life, I don't know,
to what you're supposed to do, buy a house.
If you're supposed to go down, or going down your supposed to path, where do you want to be? But we could spend, this sounds far-fetched, but when you think about it, I reckon we could spend close to 10 years traveling around this country. Because if you find somewhere you want to stay now, say in Queensland, if you find 52 spots in there that you want to stay, and you want to stay a week, there goes a year. And I can tell you right now, there are 52 spots, which I would not mind spending a week hanging around, or 2 weeks if it's really nice.
Definitely.
Even doing it for 12 months, we're still, apart from where we just sat for a week at that amazing camp, we've basically only been staying in spots like 1 or 2 nights, and then you have to keep moving, otherwise you'll just miss out on things. Like there's so much to see.
Yeah.
If you had a few years to do it, it'd be a lot more relaxed. But
sure.
Yeah,
it's quite
probably 2 years would be ideal.
So
it sounds strange.
Say again, sorry. How long?
Probably 2 or 3 years to travel around would be ideal. It does sound strange, but I don't know. I'm being realistic there.
That'd then be a very big gap to then try and go back to our jobs if we
Sure.
traveled for 3 years.
Yeah.
Maybe in that time, your drone skills might get so good that you can travel full time.
Yeah. That'll be good. Do a few more of these podcasts. Try and get paid for next ones.
Exactly. Just be plugging koala mattresses and the coffee maker.
Yeah, sure.
But I think, like, talking about a statistics perspective, that would be an interesting one to look at how many kilometers you guys have done, and obviously over 12 months, and the percentage of Australia you've actually covered, because it, like you're saying, 2 to 4 years, I don't think that's too far-fetched at all, because it's just enormous how big the country is. Like, it blows you away.
Yeah, it's massive. Like Tasmania must be the size of a couple of other countries, let alone Western Australia, which I'm looking at a map down there right now where we're plotting every road we've been on, is absolutely enormous. And it's so sparse between destinations, especially up the top. You've got to drive 8 hours, 13 hours to go to the next destination.
Yeah.
There's so much to see, whether you go off the beaten track. Because looking at this map right now, I can see a lot of roads which haven't got any blue texture on them.
Yeah. Well, that's all very, very intriguing, very inspiring. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are hopefully take your tips on board and get out on the road and get going.
Yeah. I
definitely recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, I hope that as well. Yeah, and if they are curious about any of the more detailed elements of travelling or have any additional questions, they can come straight through to us and Annie can field them.
Where's the best place to send people?
Annie, Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram?
Doing Down Under.
Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, palm it off. Any final recommendations, tips, leave the listeners with?
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to getting back to work and coming and seeing yourself, Roscoe, to work out what to actually do with my money. I'm one of those people who never invested it, so I'm sure there's better ways to go about things and do it. So I'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
About 8 months.
Yeah.
In
8 months to go.
We'll lock it.
Rubbery.
We'll lock it in. We'll lock it in.
Yeah, sounds good. Need to get some funds up first too.
Oh yeah.
No, awesome. Thanks for being on board, and I'll speak to you guys soon.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank